Thing like this that we've taken for granted all of our lives can be looked at as violent and sexual as well. So for religious people to indict entertainment as being violent, it's kind of ironic because Christ was the first celebrity and all entertainment comes from religion. And my jaw being removed is to represent the silencing of, you know, people with dangerous opinions.
So do you see that there's a parallel between, say, Jesus Christ and Marilyn Manson?
Well, it was something that I wouldn't have looked at in the past. You know, I started out with Antichrist Superstar, which was just completely opposing religion altogether. But now I wanted to re-examine things and interpret them on my own terms and say, well, I can now enjoy the image of Christ or the story of Christ, but on my own terms, not the way that I was taught to. You
were talking about having been felt as if people had, by and large, persecuted you for your music. Do you feel similarly, like, do you ever feel kind of like a martyr as Jesus was, or the pantheon of saints?
I mean, I look at that a lot on the record, and I try and bring up parallels. The three people that I point to a lot on the album, Christ, Kennedy, and John Lennon. And, you know, I'm not going to put myself in the same ranks as any of them, but I was trying to find things in common with them, you know, maybe learn from their lives a bit on the record.
Do you see yourself as a rebel or a revolutionary?
It's hard to be either, you know, it's hard to be either anymore. As long as I try and surprise myself, I try and challenge myself, always, you know, never be set in my own ways, like writing a song, always being able to do it in a different way, then I'm still being revolutionary. But I think the lesson learned on this record is, you know, you can't change the world, you have to change yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I was reading an autobiography on David Cronenberg, and he was saying the difference between a rebel and a revolutionary is a revolutionary has a plan. And what kind of a world would you like to live in? Or what kind of a world would you like to be able to live in?
I think this one, you know. You know, for all of the bad, that's really what makes it good, you know. I think, you know, everyone's asking me about the election in America, and I've said that I think under conservative government, art is more interesting because people have something to react against. I think things have been a little boring under Clinton because he tried to make himself part of the youth culture. And as Disposable Teens, for example, everyone's very concerned about what is being marketed to young people. But I think the more damaging element is that everything's being marketed to young people, and then they're being told that their opinions don't matter. So it makes a lot of people really pissed off, and rightfully so.
I'd like to talk about more on that theme, but we are going to take a look at Disposable Teens for the time being. This particular story that you're telling here, what is it about?
The two subjects on the record, of course, are a lot evolution and revolution. I wanted to combine those two, so I took a lot of classic Christian images and mixed them with Darwin, you know, sort of the opposite. And that's really where the basis came up from.
Okay, Disposable Teens, Marilyn Manson, more with him in the next while on Much Music. His most recent album, Hollywood. This particular cover was banned in a couple of store chains. This is not, this happens to you throughout your career, people boycotting your concerts. You were talking earlier about the religious right having in part blamed you for the Columbine high school murders. What was the psychological fallout of that particular, having been blamed there?
I had to spend about 3 months deciding and writing and just thinking about what I wanted to say to the world after that, what I wanted to say to myself. And that 3 months, you know, I really kind of locked myself away in my attic, and, you know, I didn't really talk to anybody, and the band was working on music, and when I came out, what I wrote ended up being the record and my novel, Hollywood, that I'm going to put out early next year.
Did you ever feel like, did you ever question yourself and go, oh my gosh, there's so much, I really have a lot of sort of power over people. Did you ever go, my goodness, what's going to, like, the types of things that can result in that?
No, you know, I think it was kind of disrespectful of the media to present that whole event and exploit Columbine as if it were the first time something like that happened. Things like that have been happening for, you know, years, you know, even in the 50s and the 60s. And it's, you know, that was the main point of me to say that, you know, it's not about guns, it's not about what people are watching. It's man's nature to be violent. You know, it's up to us. It's our personal responsibility to break that cycle. You know, that's part of evolution. You know, Cain killed Abel. These are the first two people on the earth. You know, there was no TV for them to be inspired. There was no Marilyn Manson for them.
Right. Charlotte has a question for you. Go ahead, Charlotte.
Hi, I'm very honored to meet you. I stand here, like, out in the cold for a long time. I just wanted to ask you this question, like, what do you think of your fans, and how do you think your fans perceive you?
Well, I don't try and assume how anyone perceives me. Everyone's going to have a different opinion, and with music, everyone's going to like it for a different reason. I think that's a good thing. You know, and I usually just give back to people what they give to me. If someone's nice to me, then I'm nice back to them. If they're an asshole to me, then I'm an asshole to them. But like I said before, the fans were the only ones there to support me when I was being kicked down, so that's not something I'm going to ever forget. So I love them, all of you.
Getting back to what we were talking about prior to the break was politics, government, and art. You've been very vocal against Democrat Joe Lieberman's support of the government cracking down on Hollywood's products that use sex and violence, in particular those products marketed toward children. Why have you been critical against this movement?
Well, it's just too hypocritical for the Democrats to take money from Hollywood and then blame Hollywood. I think it's just posturing. I don't think they're very sincere. I think they're the last people that really care about children or anything. You know, people are going to say whatever they want to say just to get elected. Him in particular, he's attacked me in the past, so it was just more of a response to the things that he's, you know, tried to blame me for.
When do you think politicians start to care about the arts?
I can't really generalize, you know, and I'm not really sure what any of them really believe. But I think in America now, people have grown very cynical of politics, and I'm sure it's the same way here. And music and art are the things that do really affect the world, and not in a bad way that they're trying to suggest. It's the one thing that people care about. It's the only thing that matters to them, you know. So it's not something that should be censored or taken away.
Do you think government should have any say over the arts, be it good or bad?
I think there needs to be guidelines. There needs to be some sort of boundary, you know. Otherwise, you don't know what the limits are. And it's always my job to keep pushing that boundary. But I don't think that anybody should be able to decide except for the people who are listening. You know, the parents, if they want to not let their kids watch a show, then they just turn the TV off. It's really about lazy parents, it seems like to me, people that aren't willing to raise their kids.
Right now we have a phone audience, actually. Jacob,
yes.
You got a question?
Well, I've been following and admiring your work for quite a while now, and I always wanted to know what exactly pushed you to do what you do now, and who do you admire the most?
That's tough question, who I admire the most. I think I kind of show that on the new record, you know, with John Lennon, Kennedy, and Christ. And I think I admire anybody that stands up and has an opinion. You know, I think that's why I worked with Eminem. I think that he may be someone that you don't always agree with what he's saying, but the fact that he's saying it and he's doing it in a clever way and he's talented, I admire him for that. The thing that pushed me to become what I am is probably the same thing that you're feeling as well, you know. Anybody who has awakened enough to see the way the world is you can't really contain yourself after that. A lot of people go through life blind and ignorance is bliss, but once you know, then you have to do something about it. And so instead of being negative, I try and focus it all into something positive like music.
Right now we have Anthony on the line with a phone call for you. Anthony.
Hello.
Hey, you got a question for Marilyn?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to say it's a privilege to speak with one of the greater minds in the music industry today.
Oh, thanks.
I got two questions. I'm curious as to how you got involved with Rose McGowan and what's your current status with her now?
Same status. Met her at a movie theater. And
do you remember the movie?
Yeah, it was called Gummo.
Oh, okay.
And just have a very, very lot in common, so.
Cool. Is she a muse to you in a way? Do you both inspire one another?
Sometimes I think so.
Cool. Okay, we're going to be back with Marilyn Manson after the break. Stick around. With Marilyn Manson. So as a controversial artist, do you ever feel a pressure to up the ante in terms of controversial images and content?
No, because that could just go on forever, and there's always going to be someone who's trying to be more shocking, but I think it's really too easy, because I could obviously just know, you know what's going to piss people off. I try and do things that make people think. And if it makes me think, then hopefully it'll make other people think. So on this record, I tried to make, I was happy when the caller said it was a beautiful image on the cover, because to me it was supposed to be beautiful. It wasn't supposed to be upsetting.
Yeah. A lot of the ideas you put forth is sort of challenging belief systems, why we feel certain ways. So you pose these questions over and over to people. Do you ever feel like unmasking Marilyn Manson, sort of revealing in a very kind of like non-costume way yourself?
I'm not sure if there's a way to really show any more of myself than I do when I write a song or when I sit here and talk to people, because what I am isn't really related to the way I look as much as what's inside me.
Okay. So if they were looking
at
for
the end of the night, when I go to bed, I don't change, even if I wash my face off or put on some pajamas with little footsies or something. So, still the same.
For all the talk of like nihilism and destruction, you're an artist that has had a long career, near a decade. Are you a survivor?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm a fighter. No, if you're a true nihilist, that can be very tiring. But there is elements of nihilism in what I do, but that's about destroying and creating, not just destroying. Mm-hmm. I think that's the thing that sets me apart from the people who hate me so much, politicians, because they're all about pointing out what's bad and they want to destroy it or silence it. But whether you like what I do or not, I'm creating something, I'm putting something into the world. Mm-hmm. I think that makes me a better person than a lot of the people that hate me.
The Pope last year came out with, he said that heaven and hell are not places that you go to after you die, but simply states that you choose to exist in on a day-to-day basis.
State of California.
Yeah, the state of California. Is that heaven? Now, what's your idea of, say, heaven?
I really think that those are, man-made ideas like Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, to keep people in line, to give them some sort of, I think it's kind of selfish to say, well, I'm going to behave so that I get to go to heaven. Why don't you just want to behave, period, I think it's when you put an agenda to it, that's the hypocrisy that exists in religion. For me, as long as I'm able to perform and write songs, that's as good as it's going to get for me.
All right. Shall we go to the front,
sure.
To the Much Music front porch and say hi to all the fans that came down tonight? Cool. There they are. Thank you very much for coming in again. Thanks for coming in. And that's it. Marilyn Manson live for Much Music. Saying adieu to the fans.
Nice hair. That's all you have to do. Big fan. set.